Well, good afternoon, everybody. I almost said good morning, but good afternoon, and welcome to this VAACE presentation, Advocacy, a Word and a Process. And I want to first thank my group from my committee that's on. I see Mary O'Brien and Kathy Anderson and probably a few others that are on here that have also worked on advocacy with me this year. Just a great committee, and we're going to share some of the things that we did. So this presentation was meant to be between Dr. Troyland Seward and myself. Dr. Troyland, I call her, has had her husband has a doctor's appointment that he had to keep. So I'm going to try to fill in for her. And if you know her, that's some big shoes. And Troyland is our VAACE lobbyist and has helped us through several years processes and keeps us up to speed on some of the legislation and in contacts that we need to make. So as we go along, I'll also do my part, but as well as Troyland's part. So I'll ask my committee members to jump in and help me at any time. And please feel free to unmute and ask a question or put any questions in the chat. And I'll ask Nicole and to kind of watch the chat and see if we see a question in there that I missed. So I want to talk a little bit about advocacy so that we all have a shared definition of it. It's a process. Advocacy is a process for support, recognition, achievement, gains, and professional and programmatic client-centered work. So it's not just, some people think advocacy is totally about legislation, but that's one piece of it. So there are other pieces of advocacy that we do work on. And so how do we do it? And we're going to talk about some ideas and methods on how we do advocacy, how we conduct advocacy programs. And I'm hoping that you will share, because there's a lot more that you do that are really in the way of advocacy that you may not think about it as you go along. So it does take a village to work on advocacy. And that's why it's really important, your membership in VAACE, because that's kind of our village standard, all of us working together in Virginia to improve things for our learners. So one of the things that the committee did, and I really want to thank Marilyn McDonald and Nasha Brown for working on this from our committee, was to develop an advocacy calendar so that all year long we can share ideas and things that we do to advocate within our programs. And so what I would encourage you now is we're actually in the second quarter of this year, but as you look at your working plan for the rest of the year, and as you begin next year, to make advocacy part of your working plan. And this is the website for that calendar where you can go in and add any of the activities that you do throughout the year. Maybe you want to post a question too that we'll be looking at in that calendar to see how we can help you, because we're only as strong as our weakest member. And this is a wonderful organization. VAACE is a wonderful organization to advocate for change and processes, and a great contact with our State Department to help them know what's going on in the field and to ask questions and move things through our VAACE membership. So advocacy also supports the professional development of our people who are working in adult education, whether it's our volunteers, our CBLOs, our regular programs, to ask for webinars to help with our folks in professional development. But truly, I want to say that advocacy starts local. It starts in that village. It starts where you are, with each and every one of us doing something to advocate and move our programs further for our students. So when you think about advocacy is every day, and also some special occasions or a special plan. So as you work on your professional development plan and your plan of work and your daily activities, think about what you do for advocacy. So just in every day, you have your social media, and that includes all the Facebook and Twitter, which is now X, Instagram, TikTok, all of those things that you tag and like. Very, very important and the boosting of those things. That it's part of your weekly or monthly routine, every one of those things. That in your advisory councils, who you put on your advisory councils is a way to advocate for your programs. most of you may have advocacy advisory council, that have WIOA partners on there, or you have local elected officials, or you have people of influence in your communities. Those are ways that we advocate for our programs, by getting the information out and the word out about our programs. One of the ones that we probably is not the strongest in our advocacy plan is to engage our former and existing learners, because we can't do it all ourselves. So when we involve these folks in our programs and they talk about our programs in the community and we ask for letters of support, some of the strongest ones come from our former and existing learners. I think when we share success stories, it's also a way of advocating for our program, saying, hey, we're here, we're doing this work, and we are the front runner in this work. The peer-to-peer support is important in advocacy as we build strengths about our programs and let folks know that our programs exist. You know, one of the hardest things that we hear, and I've heard my entire adult education career, was, I didn't know that was there. I didn't know that program was there. I didn't know that you do that. So I think when we have that peer-to-peer support, word of mouth is very, very important. And that is also a way to advocate for our programs. Audio events. I think our success stories in print. Charlottesville has one of the most wonderful advocacy situations in their books, in their student stories that they print in a book and hand that out to legislators and people in the community. Another way for advocacy every day is to watch your state and local committees. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in Troylin's part. Watch for legislative rollout meetings in your area and attend them. You can attend them as an adult educator interested in the topic. But also advocacy requires special planning. Things like special holiday celebrations. Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week was one that we just celebrated in September, along with International Literacy Day, which is always September the 8th. Have a this month event. This month might be, a pumpkin event, or it might be a fall event, or it might be a back to school event, or a back to adult ed event, that kind of thing. Birthday calendar features, international meal events are always wonderful. Family events that you can have and invite your students and former students, and asking your local and state and local legislators to come to your classes. And sometimes we don't get the actual legislators, but we get their aides, who are really the ones who feed the information back to the legislators and really have the pulse of what's going on in the community and what might be needed. Another one I think is really important is when we ask students to write letters to our legislators, local and state, and even the federal ones, to let them know how important adult education was to them. As a member of VAACE, all of you are members of COABE as well, the Commission on Adult Basic Education, the Coalition on Adult Basic Education, and whose conference is in Nashville this year, not too far away from us. But COABE has a lot of events for advocacy alerts that we can take advantage of with simple clicks of buttons and just saying, well, I support this, or I'm in favor of this, or whatever. And I think that's really, really important, that we don't sit silent on our fingers, that we don't sit silent on our voices when we advocate for our programs. So this is the part that you don't have any questions, by the way, or comments. Just unmute and we'll talk about it. So one of the things that our VAACE lobbyist, Troylin Seward, really emphasizes is communicating with our legislators. And this is Troylin's email address. All of you are free to contact her with questions or concerns, or if you see something that you'd like for her to look at, or a particular legislator that you would like for her to talk to about an event in your area. Oh, I see in the chat that, speaking of tagging, please tag VALRC in your social media post. Absolutely. And that helps you share the stories so that they can share them statewide. And I also want to this is again the address for the advocacy calendar. We just started this just at the beginning of this month. So it's a form that you fill out, you put in your event, and then we approve that event and add that to the calendar. So really, really important. I'm very excited about that so that we are more connected throughout the year as well. So as I mentioned about COABE, COABE has a Take Action for Adult Education issue going on right now, and they're asking for the endorsement of the Bipartisan Adult Education Works Act, which is an act that was introduced by Senators Jack Reed and Todd Young and Representative Lucy Macbeth. And as you can see, that's Republicans and Democrats, so that is bipartisan. And it really has could have an impact on adult education in Virginia as well as across this nation. This act says that adult educators, it encourages a piece of this. It has basically 6 pieces. One is that it encourages adult educators to have a voice on their state and local workforce boards. The second thing is it promotes greater utilization of IETs, and we all hear that about IETs in Virginia and our development of those and how we're growing those. It emphasizes the development of digital and informational skills that are in demand by employers. So this is a national voice that's trying to speak for adult education. That was the third thing. The fourth thing that this act talks about is it allows states to pilot accountability systems that better assess adult learner performance. The fifth thing this act does is increase professional development and professionalization opportunities for adult educators. This is our profession. We need to advocate for it. And the sixth thing that it does is it supports the rise of college and career navigators who can guide learners as they prepare for college and work in their communities. Very, very important. So really excited about this act. And you can go to the COABE website, click on that Adult Education Works Act, and make your voice known for the support of that act. We can't let everyone else speak for us. We must speak for ourselves and must advocate for ourselves, for Virginia and also across the nation. So specifically in Virginia, I'm asking you to do something today for a better tomorrow for us in Virginia, for our students as well as our profession. This is an election year in Virginia. Very, very special election year in Virginia. Over 1/3 of the new legislators are up for election. So we want the one thing that's going to be a little bit different this year. Not only is this such a new slate of legislators, we're losing some strong champions in the legislating stuff. So we're hopefully that we'll have some new champions, but we need to watch because we don't know who's going to be elected. And the big thing is we don't know who will be on the committees until they come to session in January. This past year and the year before, of course, we knew who was on committees and we knew who to contact right away. So it's very, very important that we watch this. So just watch for your committee memberships. Really, really important. And I'll later on the next slide, I'll show you which ones to particularly watch. Also in November, the governor lays out his legislative plan for the biennium. So I think we want to watch for those community meetings for that, and watch for comment sections on that so that we can make a comment on that as we need to support or ask for better representation in that plan. It's going to call for you to contact quickly, okay, when that does come out. So these are 2 links I think are very, very important. The Who's My Legislator link, all you have to do is put that in there, and that's just, Who's My Legislator, who's my .virginiageneralassembly.gov, and put in your zip code or where you live, and it'll tell you exactly who your legislator is. And the main link for the Virginia General Assembly is that second link on there. Excuse me. And that will tell you, a lot about what's going on in the Virginia General Assembly, who you can contact, what bills are up. Very, very important, these 2 links. So when this happens, and it's happening right now, as you know, early voting has been going on in Virginia for a while. Do something for a better tomorrow. So a few important state committees to particularly watch, and remember that we won't know who are on them until we get to January, when the session begins and the committees are renamed for this go round. So our Senate, the Finance Committee, and the Commerce and Labor Committee. In the House, the Appropriations Committee, and also in the House also has a Labor and Commerce Committee. So those 4 committees are very, very important to us to watch what comes through them, what's proposed, who's the chair, where they're from, so that the program managers and the teachers and the students in those areas can contact those folks when bills are written. Also to watch the new Workforce Development Office is online now and up and going, and is chaired by the director of that new office is the former director of the VEC in Virginia. So as they're beginning to migrate folks over to that office and to watch the work from that office. So very, very important that you're in touch with your workforce development boards as well as the work of this new Workforce Development Office. Very, very important to adult education as we move students toward employment. So just some tips on that. Tip 1, know your legislators. It's going to be very, very important this year in Virginia because of the number that will be elected. Invite them to your classes, even if the legislators themselves might not attend. You might find that their aides attend, and they're just as important as the legislators themselves because they take your message back. Send communications from the students to the legislators and not just the ones at the state office, your local legislator, your superintendents, your school board members, people who are heads of the WIOA committees, groups in your region, your workforce center folks. Get the permission to post those stories and send those, and ask the students to write letters telling them what adult education has meant to them in their lives and the changes that have been made as a result of that. When you do send communications to your legislators or your mayor, your city council, please put the word constituent in the text. That means that you are a resident and a voting person in that community. And those folks want to serve, and they want to hear from you, and they want to hear from their constituents. They don't know if you don't discuss with them the situation that you're wanting to put forward. Tip number 5, communicate often, especially when they are in their home districts and not in session. But you need to watch and communicate as well when they're in session. When they're in their home districts, it's when they have time to meet with you personally, come to your class, talk with students, really have a conversation with you. When they're in session, they're very busy. Their day starts really early, 6:30 easily, and goes on to 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. They have a lot of committee meetings that they're assigned to, a lot of legislation that they're negotiating with their colleagues. So it's sometimes very difficult to get to them or talk with them when they're in session. But when they are at home and not in session, that's really a good time to talk with them and let them know about your adult education work. So as the committees are formed and the election is getting through after November, identify your champion and communicate with them. Some of you may have a champion in a local school board or a champion in a local mayoral district who can be your champion to move forward some of your ideas and support for adult education. So I hope you will remember these tips. I think it's very, very important, the work that we do on an everyday basis, not just not in a push when we're trying to stop legislation or start legislation. So I'd like to open up and see who might have an idea or a thought that they'd like to share with us about advocacy, some of the things that you've done in your local divisions. You just have to unmute. Or questions for me.
So Stacy, this is Tracy in Middle Peninsula.
Hi, Tracy.
Last Tuesday night, I presented a success story, a recent GED graduate, to the school board, and she got up and she shared her story of her journey with everyone that was there at the school board meeting, and it was very powerful, and it was very moving.
And I'm sure they won't forget it. Thank you, Tracy. I'm sure they won't forget it because those are the stories that stick with those folks. Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. And that's the way to do that. Thank you so much. Kathy.
Stacy, this is Kathy. To
Uh-huh.
follow up on what Tracy said, in the past, we've had students come to our workforce board meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Because we always have a section at the end called Workforce Wins. And just to share what Adult Ed has done for them and you know, that where they are in their career path now.
Oh, I think that's really important, Kathy, to do that to the Workforce Development Board, because those folks sometimes get focused on other things and forget about the pipeline of students that we have for education and training and employment.
Exactly.
Really important. Yeah, that's really a good one. Really a good one, especially when we're trying to work with employers in building IETs and building workplace literacy classes to let them know our work and that the students have great success. Good idea.
And I think it's also because the employers don't always understand what the mandated partners are doing and who we're serving. So having them see that success story in front of them is so important, so they get a better understanding of what we do.
Oh, good point. And I think, even if we do that in front of our city and town councils, a lot of times they bring the football team from the high school or the forensic team from the high school. We should bring our adult education students to. There's a lot of local money going into our programs. And if we don't have an increase in funding from the federal level down through the state level, then we need to, work to increase local support as well. So good point, Kathy. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for your work on the committee too. So
no problem.
Hey, there's a note from Shannon in the chat. Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
It says, even when I can't get an in-person success story at the Workforce Development Board meetings, I always provide a written story.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. And we partner in my region with a couple of the community colleges. We have an RSVP grant and a youth build grant, and they're sharing their stories, but we need to share our other adult education stories as well, even though that's part of our partnering. Yeah, good point. Thank you, Shannon. Who else like to share something that you're doing for advocacy? I'm not shy, so I'll call on you. I want to thank Mary for also being on from our committee, Mary O'Brien. Thank you, Mary. Do you have anything you'd like to share? Hi.
Hey.
Unmute. Yeah, there you go.
Not too much. Just I think that being on the committee has I've learned a lot, especially from Stacy and Kathy and everybody, and it's been really eye-opening. So I've learned a lot in this committee. So it's been great.
We're always looking for good people on our committee. So anybody that wants to volunteer for the advocacy committee, we'll take you too. We need the ideas of everyone. So that's awesome. So thank you, everybody. Amy Statzer, I know you do a lot for advocacy out there in Region 1.
Hey, Stacy.
Hey, Miss Amy. What's going on in Region 1 for advocacy?
Well, we're trying to do everything we can to reach out. Have a lot of things going on, and Miss Linda's helping us. Linda used to be with Region 2, but she's with us now. Doing a lot of good stuff out there.
Good. Thank you. Alvin, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Just making sure that we, it actually is an ongoing process, because you always want to try to continuously to get stuff out. But you made a comment that I do, but I was not aware that I need to do that, and that is advocating for your program, especially through the students who are in your program, because they're your biggest cheerleaders, especially if you're working for them and they know that you are sincere in what you're trying to do. I do it, but I wasn't doing it conscious that I was doing it. And so when I heard that comment, I said, oh, okay, that's right. I can actually talk to them about that. And then, because they advocate what they like about it to me, I just want to make sure that I put it in their head so that they can continue to, as a planned process, not just as a random project.
Good point, Alvin. Really good point. They are our biggest advocates out in the community. They certainly do know a lot of folks that we don't know, and we all of us have limited budgets, but so we advocate in a lot of different ways and make our students feel important, and put them on our advisory councils, put them front and center, their work, their accomplishments. I think is really, really important, Alvin. You really hit the nail on the head on that. Thank you so much. Robin Rose, I know you do a lot. Is Robin still with us? He's being shy this morning, this afternoon. Toy, you doing some good stuff there for advocacy?
We try. Excuse me. We're trying.
That's
I
good.
mirror what the last gentleman said in regards to being more intentional about talking to the students. I talk to them, we send things out to them all the time, but just making sure that is a consistent. It's not happenstance. It's more planned.
Right. Part of that plan, when you think about it, it's part of your professional plan to do that. Good point, Toy. And, a lot of people think, if you're associated with a school division, that if you send things out to the parents, but you have to remember that sending things out in the school division probably only hits about 10 to 12% of your locality. So when you review your census information, many times you can go to your economic development director in your area and they can look at the census information with you and help you find target areas if you want to go out and advocate for your programs locally. And just remember that advocacy is a lot of things. It's not just legislation. It's really not that not legislation is not important, but it is advocating the work that you do professionally and client-centered, so that when you are advocating for your students who need your services with the data to back it up and your success data, you're really saying a lot to your community about the work for those who've come before and who are with you now and who will come at a later date. So good point, Toy. Good point.
Stacy, this is Kathy. Just following up on something you just said, being out in the community, we think of recruitment at being out at community events, but it's also advocacy, because when you're attending community events, when you're speaking at community meetings, and when I say community events, festivals, job fairs, resource fairs, you're presenting information about adult education and you're advocating for your program and what your program can offer. Because when you go to those resource and career fairs, there's a lot of other employers and community organizations there that you talk with when you're there.
Yes.
So that's, even though we think of it as recruitment, it is also advocacy.
Absolutely. On a daily basis.
And we do those every month. We have
Yes.
at least 2 or 3 events every month that we attend.
One locality I thought did a good job. They had it was like one of those monthly events, and they had a health fair that they invited, a lot of the health workers to their classes. And I mean, they had no idea, they had no idea. And it really helped the students. But then they went back, and those folks went back and helped spread the word and talk about our work and our profession. And I go back to something that Dr. Don Finn said this morning. It's hard to put a definition on adult education, and it's hard for us to even explain it among ourselves. So the more advocacy type work that we do helps other folks know, put a face on what we do, put a system on what we do, and that it's not a hodgepodge system. It's very clear a system of adult education, and that it's there to support the learners in our areas. So good point, Kathy, on that. Yeah, absolutely. So Mary, I see you're still with us, Mary Mikulski. Get you to unmute. Yeah. How are you? What kind of advocacy ideas do you have?
Well, that's why I came, because I'm new to this position, and I just think it's something that we haven't, we've been rebuilding our program for the last 5 years. So we're starting to, branch out to, now that some, classes are established and we've got teachers returning consistently, just there's things on my mind within my own program that I need to advocate for. For example, our registration process requires, because we're under K-12, although nobody else in the county with adults attending like ESOL, it requires the students to fill out the paperwork as if they were going to be a K-12 student. So they have to provide all their shot records, which is a barrier. And I'd like to advocate, that's my mission right now. I'm quite a little teeny narrow. I want to change that, because it's not right.
Yeah, well, that, and
It's a barrier.
That's another approach to advocacy too. So I'm glad I called on you, Mary, because sometimes it's a very narrow thing. We get real into this big nebulous universe of adult education, but sometimes we're going to advocate for that small thing, and it might be the entrance requirements. Is what you're talking about, a little change in that. It might be, that we can use the computer lab at a certain time. It might be, advocacy is almost like the term adult education. It's a really big nebulous thing. But one of the things I hope you take away from today is that that we're all doing these advocacy kinds of things. And if we can put some of these things in that calendar, so that, like Mary, where she's rebuilding a program, and then Mary O'Brien, who's, coming from a CBLO area, side, can work together on these things and build this across, our Commonwealth, build this across our profession in Virginia. Advocacy many times in the past has focused only on legislation, but we really need to focus on building a better tomorrow for all of our students and our clients through these types of advocacy efforts. So in putting in that calendar together, and again, I just want to thank my committee so much for that. It really helps us begin to stabilize and document and show the force of our profession. We have a great profession. It is our profession, and it is in our hands to carry it forward and improve on it. So, when we think about building a better tomorrow, we really think about not just for my program or your program, but for all of our programs across Virginia. When VAACE goes to represent an idea and they say we are 350, we are 400 people strong, and we represent, over 10,000 students in our programs, it's a very powerful thing. And through the advocacy calendar and through some of the other advocacy things that we're doing, we're able to be stronger across the Commonwealth. We're able to support our state efforts. We're able to be in line with this new legislation, the Adult Education Works, that they're trying to pass in Washington. We're able to bring those things to the Commonwealth and be stronger as a profession and be stronger for our students. So remember, there's two sides to that advocacy. There's the professional side, but there's also the client-centered side. And I think when we begin to look at a daily plan for ourselves professionally, then we really do build that, and we build that through our programs, and we build that through all that. I'm very proud of my profession. I'm like Dawn, I've been in it a long time, as some of you have been as well. And we really need to build that for the folks that are coming on after us, and for the folks that have gone before, and the folks that are with us right now. So I'm all about that. I sound a little bit like Dolly Parton this morning. So, or this afternoon, y'all all come together. It's all good. So anybody else? Yes.
Catherine put in the chat, developing an adult learner leader group to advocate for themselves and their interests is also an important perspective to consider. So even if you're thinking of your local group, getting some of those students together to form that advocacy group, you know, with your program support or with your CBLO support.
That's an awesome idea. And we've had some, you know, in the past, we've had some training on building those leadership groups. And I think it's really important. And I've seen in some other states where those leadership groups, they're very powerful. They're very powerful. They're constituents just like we are. And so I think they're the ones who really bring the story and the need forward. So excellent. Thank you, Catherine, for that comment. Who else would like to share something with us? Robin said she lost her microphone. So.
I'd like to share.
Please. I lost you.
Okay.
Now there you are. Okay.
Okay. All right. I am not an administrator. However, I am the GED testing coordinator. And I'm also the TABE locator tester.
You're an important person. You're an important person.
I see them when they first get here and I see them when they leave. And so when I advocate, when they walk through that door, it's all about personality. We got to have personality with these people because we don't know their backgrounds and we don't know where they come from. And so I'm a retired teacher. This is a part-time job for me. And I just
no teacher ever retires. They just keep on going.
And so I come in and, you know, I try to be personable with them, you know, to make them comfortable. You got to make these folks comfortable because we just don't know what they're coming from. And so as they're there, I'm constantly advocating and telling them, oh, you're going to do it. You're going to make it. This is going to be a piece of cake for you. And then as they start going to classes, I will walk around. I'll go into the classrooms. Hey, how y'all doing? You know, how's everything going? Everything. And Mr. Coleman, he works with me. He has 2 girlfriends. I just want to share that with you all. He has two
Do we need to stop the recording?
And they won't go to anyone else but him because he is a great advocate here at Clark Academy and our adult education department. The students love him. They learn from him. And when they come down to take that final GED test, they do excellent. They pass. It's just great. So we're advocating from the very beginning when they come in. We advocate all during their courses. And then when they walk in here and they see me, they say, we see you again? And I said, yeah. And hopefully when you take this test this time, we're going to advocate you right on out of this building.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
you know what you're saying is you're advocating and making your place the go-to place. They feel happy and comfortable. They have a sense of community, which our students need to have, a sense of safe community, and they know their teachers, they know their people. And when they go out, they tell about their success there. Awesome. Yes. Awesome. Yes.
And then we have a family literacy teacher that she brings in the little ones. You know, she tells her students on certain days to bring their children, and then she works with them, you know, and then we work with them. And so we're trying to get them to be better students in school, and we, you know, tell them all the different things that they need to do and what they should do. And I just feel like it's going to all come together and everybody's going to be successful, and these people are going to get these GEDs and they're going to get out into this world and they're going to do wonderful things.
they're gonna have the confidence to go into further training. They're gonna have the confidence to go into employment. They're gonna have the confidence to help their children. Families learning together, big issue, and in a way that we know that we can advocate for success. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And I like what you said about the legislators. I'm getting ready to get busy with that myself. I sure
Yay!
am. I certainly am.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Come on and join
Okay.
our committee. That's
Okay, I
awesome.
will.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Seaton. I appreciate it.
All
I
right.
appreciate
You're
it. Yeah.
welcome. Bye.
Yeah. Who else would like to share? That's awesome. I'm fired up now. I think we have I think Luttrell on there. Ginger, I know you do a lot as well.
Actually, I have a question, and this has
Okay.
been a question that has plagued PRASAP since I started there.
We don't know if we can answer it, but let's talk about it.
Okay, so membership in VAACE. Can we use AFLA funds for that or no?
No, no.
No, I didn't think so. That
Yeah.
was my big question.
I'm sorry.
No,
You
I
have
know,
to
because
pay-
on the
yeah,
two,
You have to pay your own
$200
membership.
came out of my
Yeah.
own pocket, but
Yeah.
I just didn't think so, but I didn't know if things had changed or not.
No, you have to pay your own membership.
Okay. And will we see some updates to the website this year?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Yes, we have. I know Rachel's been working on it. She's not with us today. She's not feeling well, but I know that they've been working on that. So
Okay.
perfect.
It looks
And
good so
I know,
far.
yeah, and I know the advocacy calendar's on there already. So I know that's one big update.
Okay.
And
I just looked at it. I didn't see the advocacy calendar, but I didn't give a real deep dive either.
It's
So,
there.
it's
there.
quite possible.
It's there.
All
Yeah,
right.
Thank you.
Ginger, if you go to the advocacy page, the advocacy tab on the VACE website,
Okay.
Yeah.
you scroll down and it says upcoming advocacy events.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the submission form, but there is something a little wonky, Stacy, with it.
Okay.
It came up, something needs to be fixed on that page,
Okay,
but the submission form is there.
Yeah, and it's brand new. I mean, we're talking about just a couple of weeks put
Yeah.
up. So yeah, so
Sure.
thank you for looking at that. Yeah, appreciate it.
No problem. All right. Well, I'm signing off.
No, don't sign off. Just you can just mute. How about that? You might get another idea. We're not finished talking.
Oh, keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ginger. Appreciate
Thanks.
you. Anybody else have some? Linda Allen, do you have something you want to share? Got to unmute Linda. She might not unmute. Well, if we don't have anything else, anybody else have a comment or anything else? I don't think anybody's opposed to us ending early, are they? Just to recap, please just remember that it is an everyday event. And Amy, see where Amy Shockley has also put in the VACE advocacy events calendar website on there, link on there in the chat. This PowerPoint will be available to anybody. And if you want to email me, if you don't get it, I'm certainly happy to send it to you as well. Please remember Troylan in your thoughts and prayers today. And Rachel, hope she feels better with us. And thank you for attending this session. I'm always open for discussion on advocacy. Just remember to make a plan. Think about it as a daily plan as well as your special events, not only just for legislation, but for the profession and for the students. Because when you go back to the definition that we were looking at earlier, in the very beginning, it's a process for support, recognition, achievement, gains, okay? Professional and programmatic, and it is client-centered. So It's more than legislation, but a whole advocacy for your profession, your programs, and your students. Let's all have a better tomorrow. And I want to thank you so much for coming this afternoon. I hope you've gotten at least one thing that you can share and use as we move along through our advocacy efforts this year and next year as well. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Stacy.
You're most welcome. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
See you
Bye,
later this
Stacy. Thank you.
afternoon. Bye,
Bye now.
everybody.
See ya.
Bye-bye. So Nicole